Marty,
Welcome.
we're gonna go back to the Docha.
Classic.
Yep.
So, welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron. Sorry about that. Angron. Pardon. Angron, Shark, Mathmachine, and Jordan. Today is our 71st episode, and we're discussing the 1990 Back to the Future, the animated series episode, Forward to the Past. So, let's get things started.
Hey, it's
Now-
an inverse episode.
Yep, kinda. So,
Yeah.
the Back to the Future trilogy, as everyone listening to this probably knows, is one of the most iconic and really one of the best movie trilogies out there. Let's be honest.
Yep.
It's held up for a reason.
Yeah, especially it put Christopher Lloyd on the map. Let's put it that way.
Well-
There are several stuff that also put him on the map, but this
Was his big role. Yes.
oh
yes.
hell yeah.
And of course, like anything that was a remotely popular movie intellectual property at the time, it got an animated series based on it in the 90s. But this one was pretty notable because it actually managed to get some of the cast from the movie back to reprise their roles. Tom Wilson reprised his role as Biff Tannen and all of the various other incarnations of the Tannens in the past. And Mary Steenburgen actually reprised her role as Clara, Doc's wife in the show.
Nice.
And most interestingly enough, they actually got Christopher Lloyd to reprise his role as Doc Brown, but with a bit of a weird twist, because the beginning and the opening of the show, much like the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, has live action sections that kind of bookend the whole thing. However, the animated portion did not get Christopher Lloyd. They got Dan Castanella, who is probably best known for playing the voice of Homer Simpson, and who also replaced a movie character when he voiced the genie in the Aladdin TV series.
Honestly, both roles are kind of fitting here. Like, he does a good job with what he's given, and honestly, I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head who can do what Dan does in these two roles. So, props to him.
Yeah, definitely.
Funny. So Homer gets to be a genie and a genius.
Very true. Very true.
A genie and a genius.
Yep, very true. But right off the bat, the show begins in a pretty neat start with a theme song that actually reuses the unused song "Back in Time" by Huey Lewis. That was
Huey
actually
Lewis in the news, as
Yep, it
opposed
was
to
act-
Huey Lewis and the Jews.
okay. But yeah, it actually was meant for the first movie, but they decided to save it and repurpose it here, which is pretty good because let's be honest, it's not a theme song recorded as a thing. It's an actual official song that just happened to be used for this animated show, and it fits really good. The animation style itself is really well done, especially again for the time period, the early '90s. I believe this was because it was all done in-house at Universal. Believe it or not. This is actually done by Universal's animation department back when they had an animation department.
Yeah, they really wanted to put some effort in this because of how big the franchise was.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, Land Before Time existed, so...
True. I think they probably were doing the sequels at this time, although I'm not exactly sure. But
they hadn't started the sequels yet, but this was post-original Land Before Time, so this is absolutely when Spielberg and all of them were in it. This was distributed through Amblin Television, so this was proto-Amblimation.
Indeed.
I definitely can hear that. So the episode begins with a live-action section of Doc Brown, which is Christopher Lloyd reprising his role, and right off the bat, you can tell he is so attuned to the character at this point that even these short, 2-minute, vignettes are so well done because he just throws 110% into the character right away.
Yep, he still got it.
Yeah. And again, he just, even for something like with this, he gives it his all, and it really feels like you're watching more the further adventures of Doc Brown. It's not like he's reprising the role for a paycheck or something like that. He really feels like, even if it wasn't, he feels passionate about it, especially about with the character.
Which this is an animated series spinoff. If at any point you were like, I'm just going to phone it in, it would be this, and he doesn't.
Not at all. And like I say, Doc Brown basically is in a rocky area, claiming that he's in Hill Valley in the year 3 million BC, which, okay, Doc, that was kind of after the point the dinosaurs went extinct, but,
Yep.
kid show.
Yeah. And accuracy hadn't really become mainstream until
True,
much
true.
later.
So at this point, you can probably
Keep
just
in
say
mind,
that
this
and
is the
no one
same
would
era
fact
with
check
Mary
you.
Pope. I mean, this is the
Wonder
era
if
with
he came
Mary Pope.
across the Hill Valley Sky Trees from Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
this is the same era where, despite Night of the Ninjas by Mary Pope Osborne, they still did the whole hey, ninjas wear black, so it's pretty cool and pretty dope and all that stuff. So yeah, a
I
little bit of
definitely can
leeway,
see
though
that.
not by much.
Yep.
Hmm.
So Doc hears a roar and he runs off screen. We then see stock footage of two dinosaurs fighting each other as Doc is green screened in front of him. Now the thing that's interesting, this stock footage seems so familiar, but I can't pinpoint it. It's definitely not
Hey,
Lost World. It
hey.
seems like something from like I'd say the 50s maybe, but
Maybe.
it doesn't seem like it's Japanese, anything like that. It seems like not even like movies like Lost Continent or that, because those movies would be black and white. I don't know what it is, but it's just very curious. I actually tried looking it up to see where this stock footage potentially could have been taken from, but there's very little information about this show, so
Hmm.
can help there. But Dog basically yells at one of the dinosaurs as one of them roars back at him, causing him to run back to the rocky area. Doc then tells the audience about the last time he was in the dinosaur age with his sons, rather. And it's here we start the animation portion as Lloyd Brown narrates briefly, and then it switches to Castanella Brown for the rest of the segment. And the fact they actually got Christopher Lloyd to do a very brief narration to bridge the cartoon and the live action, again, it's another good touch, and it does remind me a lot of the Super Show, how they, would have the live action segments with Mario and Luigi in Brooklyn doing whatever, and then they would tie it into the cartoon by having, Captain Lou Albano, do the plumber's log to start the episode, and then it would go into the cartoon itself.
Yeah, it's also very interesting.
Yes, you did not mishear. Doc Brown has children in this series. This takes place after
the
the
third.
trilogy, and he's got like a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old son.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty much on point. Also, better quality animation here than with the Mario show.
Oh,
More
way
or
better,
less.
way
Oh
better.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
Like I
not
say-
bad, but come on, you got Mario 3 and Mario World coming
Yeah,
after
no,
this.
it's
And
not.
don't forget the guy that had no face through a whole episode.
Or the time they forgot to draw a background for Captain N. That happened. Look it up.
Gosh, you reminded me of freaking that one Transformers episode where at the end there was just like nothing.
Oh, the one with the spaceship and giant kid.
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Oh,
one.
Yeah. But
That
thankfully,
one.
this show has way better animation than that. So
Yeah.
the cartoon itself begins with Doc working on his latest invention, but his sons Jules and Vern show up. The two sons are the stereotypical smart but stuffy and wild pair, and I don't know. It feels like a dynamic that, again, we didn't really get to know these kids at all in the movie, so maybe they could have turned out like this, but I don't know. It just seems kind of weird.
I think
You
this
know, it
was
feels-
their attempt at adding more character to the kids as building off what happened after like the third movie and everything. So for that, I give them props, though not too much. I mean, the dynamic isn't bad here, but you could do a little better.
Yep. And another one of the things that kind of got a little old is how Jules speaks in scientific jargon most of the time, and it's a running gag that could be cute, but I feel like they just hammer it in a little bit too
Yeah.
much.
They
And it
do
gets
that throughout the entire episode. Like, not
Yeah.
just him, but a little bit of Doc Brown, too. Like,
See, Doc Brown, it at least makes a little more sense because we've
he's a
known from the
he's a
other
nutty
movies.
yeah, he's a
that,
nutty
he does
scientist.
that.
He, like, does the stuff and whatnot. I mean, I guess that sort of bit of the gene pool had to fall somewhere. And yeah, thank goodness that freaking the wild kid Vern, sorry, understands it enough. Like, they're both smart, and in that sense, but honestly, that kind of makes me think. Like, the kids are absolutely smart and they understand each other. But like having just an entire family of just bland geniuses would kind of get a little staler than
Oh,
what we got
definitely,
in this
definitely.
show.
The
So
fact that they actually changed his character, you're absolutely right. It does make
yeah,
sense.
Hmm.
So Jules takes out a piece of tinfoil and mentions that he's going to collect a lot of it, recycle it, and make $1 jillion. And a gag that actually did make me smirk. Jules calculates the value and concludes that it'd be a lot less than $1 jillion. But Vern's all like, "Yeah, isn't it great?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great gag, you know.
Yeah.
It
He
really
calculates
is.
it out to be like $125,000.
Yeah.
To which the younger kid was like, "Oh, hey, that's even more."
Yeah. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
implying that his
misquoted there.
implying that his whole freaking mental state could only comprehend freaking
Yeah, imaginary
that a
numbers.
very small amount, despite being
Yeah.
freaking smart.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Doc's invention that he's working on, it looks like a vacuum cleaner, but it turns out it's actually a device that takes molecules apart from each other and disintegrates objects. And we get to see a really cute little animated vignette that shifts into a blackboard style while also kind of sticking true to the regular art style of the show. It's kind
Yeah.
of hard to explain, but it actually looks really good, and I was not expecting a show like this to have that level of quality of art
Yeah.
shift to it.
It's certainly
Yeah.
not bad.
Tech Talk.
Yep. If
Yeah,
only
but
they went
it's
to
like
Chalk
TED
Zone.
Talk. Wow. Or Chalk. Yeah, TED Talk meets Chalk Zone. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If
Yes, if you're
only.
looking at the Chalk Zone characters, it looks almost like that, which is weird
Yeah,
because we
yeah.
talked about that 2 weeks ago.
last week rather, but yeah, yeah. So what happens is Vern wants to test it on Einstein of all things, of course, Doc's
Oh,
dog,
boy.
but Dog tells him not to do it, claiming that an untested invention is dangerous and that he once smashed all the windows in Hill Valley with one of them. Thinking
boy.
quickly, Doc realizes there's one place where they could not really cause any harm and types in 3 million BC into the DeLorean. As previously
boy.
mentioned, this is not dinosaur time, but hey, cartoon, real deal.
Yeah.
Doc and his sons are prepared to travel back into the past where they almost run over Marty. And Marty
Marty.
McFly, of course, yep, they could not get Michael J. Fox back for the cartoon because, of course, they couldn't. But they did get a really good replacement. I believe his voice actor is the same one who voiced Danny Phantom.
Yeah, I could immediately recognize the voice the moment I heard Marty
Yep.
speak in the show.
If you've ever watched the series, you can hear it as soon as he opens his mouth.
Hell yeah.
And again, this was like a decade plus before Danny Phantom, and it really does fit. You know, it actually does sound like he is Marty McFly there. You know, it
Yeah.
ties into the rest. I'm sorry.
Then he also has like some crazy inventor relatives.
True, true. Was that an intentional casting decision by Butch Hartman? We can only
Yeah.
speculate. So Marty basically gives Doc a music video he and Jennifer made as Doc uses a giant slingshot to propel the DeLorean to the sky, which, okay, I thought the DeLorean could fly on its own, but all right.
Good, but I guess like to keep things relatively like stable in this time period as to not arouse suspicion, they
Yeah,
had to
but-
do crazy stuff to get the thing to 88 miles per hour without,
True, true.
Yeah.
Though at the end of the first one, I mean, the DeLorean just flies off, so it's like Doc doesn't worry about being subtle.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and here's no different. Like a freaking
Yeah.
slingshot, the most
Yeah.
unsubtle thing you could possibly do.
Exactly. But they wind up inside the Cretaceous period afterwards, and Vern puts on a pair of goggles and he looks around. And as soon as I saw them, I thought of like Jurassic Park. Are they heavy? Yeah. Then they're expensive. Put them back. They look a lot like those night vision goggles from Jurassic Park. But Vern points out that a T-Rex is about to chase them. The trio run before being saved by a pterodon that flies them to safety. The pterodon has a cartoony design, but it works in context with the animation style. They're not trying to go for realism here, so it does work.
Yeah, dinosaurs here don't have a generic look. They give them something to make them different from the usual dinosaurs you see in a random TV show.
Yeah, exactly. You'd think that they would look, basically like realistic dinosaurs, but they have all kinds of like weird colors and more stylized faces. And again, it really does work. Doc is afraid of being eaten before Vern points out that the pterodon is friendly. Vern decides to call it Donnie as it flies throughout the sky. And again, the backgrounds on this show in particular are really well done. There's some that, especially for a Saturday morning cartoon in 1990, you would not think that this show would look so good as it does, but this is really professional quality. And again, I think it's because this was done in-house at a big movie studio.
They also
They
play
had
the serious main theme at that part, or something
Yep,
similar.
that too.
Yeah.
I mean, let's put it this way. If you have access to the Back to the Future soundtrack, you are going to use the Back to the Future soundtrack. You know,
Indeed, yeah.
it's one of the best music scores of all time. They definitely are going to do it. But Donnie drops him off at a cliff before flying off. Doc prepares to use an invention before Jules points out a shooting star. But the shooting star turns out to be the meteor that will collide into Earth and kill off the dinosaurs, as well as them. Yep. Doc plans on using his invention to destroy the meteor, but he doesn't have enough power as it needs, say it with us, 1.21 gigawatts.
Oh, boy.
Yep. But Doc does have a solution. He links up Mr. Fusion, which, again, a nice touch that they actually remembered that, oh yeah, Doc has Mr. Fusion. That's why the DeLorean works with the flux capacitor. You know, they actually remembered that from the movies. And he also hooks that up to the car battery to the machine, which provides all the power he needs to destroy the meteor. Doc leaps for joy as he claims that they not only saved their lives, but prove that his invention works. The three get ready to return home as Jules takes some rocks to carbon date them. When they get into the DeLorean, the car doesn't start, and it turns out that the car's battery was wasted. Not because Doc used the machine, but because Vern wasted the car's battery by using the TV in it just to watch Marty's music video over and over again. Which, again, definitely got a good laugh out of me. You know, this show was very witty when it wanted to be.
Yeah, the fact that apparently traveling through time doesn't take that much energy, but watching a show on TV depletes the battery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever saw a TV in a car in the 90s, that's not wrong.
Yeah. So, but now they need to find a way to jumpstart it, but they see a nearby lemon tree, and they decide to use lemons to jumpstart the battery. Doc explains to Vern and the audience that by connecting copper and aluminum into a lemon, and if you connect it with a wire, it can actually create an electrical current. And it's fun because it's a show that's educational, but you wouldn't really even notice it. You know, it's one of those, you know, tricky into learning kind of deal.
Yeah, thanks to that, the Doc is now the man who's gonna burn your house down with the lemon. He's gonna get his engineers to make a compostable lemon that burns your house down.
Doc Brown versus Cave Johnson. We need to see that. We need to find a way to see that.
This makes sense too, because you know, like the old saying goes, when life gives you lemons, make gasoline.
Nice. But well, but
life gives you lemons. Well, at least it gave you something, according to the old AJK song or whatever.
Yeah, but they end up getting the volts they need thanks to using several lemons. Vern turns on the car as it ends up speeding away because the DeLorean was in gear and Jules's rocks were on the gas pedal. The DeLorean almost gets up to 88 miles per hour, which, if you've seen the movie, you know that if it does, that's what causes the DeLorean to time travel and they'd be stuck in the past. Yep.
So, I got don't ya? Or in this case,
well, they literally are going back to the future at this point. Donnie ends up picking them up and flies them to the DeLorean before it takes off. Doc and Jules rides on the roof of the DeLorean, and when they get back to the future, it turns out that Hill Valley still looks prehistoric. They see a gas station up ahead, and the time circuit say they're back in 1991. The DeLorean stops in front of a giant car that, to me, looked a lot like something out of Death Race 2000. Whether that was an intentional reference or not, I don't know. But I will say this right now, a dinosaur-only version of Death Race 2000 would either be the stupidest or the best movie ever made. Possibly
depends on how you write it,
way.
but I kind of want to see that now.
Yeah, that would be great. But a Stegosaurus steps out of the car and approaches the gas pump, humming a tune to himself. He drops his gas cap and sees the DeLorean peering at it as it flies away. And it's here where we see the new world that Doc Brown has created, and we'll find out why in a second. But the amount of world building that they do in this 25-second sequence is a really fascinating and fun one. because all of the buildings in this alternate world, they all look like giant cacti, and the dinosaurs all have their sort of weird writing system, which is unique. All the dinosaurs are just going about their day in different ways is really unique. The DeLorean nearly...
Dino Hatton should have been in the Mario movie.
This is way better than Dino Hatton. In fact, this is... we'll find out why in a second, why this happened, and when we do, I'll make another comparison. But basically, the DeLorean nearly crashes into another car as they head into a bar, and it's here where you actually have to kind of pause and freeze frame it, which is kind of a shame because the only copy of it online, granted there is a DVD, so I recommend getting that, but if you're going to watch it online, the quality of it is really not good. It's like 144, and it's really hard to make out some details, but there's a lot of really cute ones. Like you can see a T-Rex playing pool using a giant palm tree, and they have a nightclub singer who looks like a cross between Cyndi Lauper and Jessica Rabbit and a dinosaur. So that right there is a unique combination. Of course, Doc makes a cute pun.
My favorite joke of the episode. Doc just notices, oh hey, lounge lizards.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to mention that. That is so funny, you know? It's something that's so understated, and yet when you think about it for like more than a second, it really does click. And there's another good gag where the DeLorean flies past a dinosaur office worker who's just stamping papers. Then he does like a double take and actually looks out the window again to make sure what he saw was real. And it turns out, thanks to Doc destroying the meteor, dinosaurs are now the dominant species on Earth. And right away, this cartoon from 1990 does this concept way better than the movie Good Dinosaur did. Or Super Mario Brothers 1993, for that matter, unfortunately.
Yeah, honestly, Good Dinosaur is better than Mario, but yeah, I kind of want to see more of this rather than those.
Yep.
For the most part.
Definitely. So Vern then takes out a camera to show everyone back home. Doc puts on the videotape of Marty's music video as Marty fades out of existence. And because human beings never existed in this timeline, they will all probably fade out of existence into nothing. And it turns out that they have about 12 minutes before they completely disappear, which, again, pretty dark for a kid's show, you know?
Yeah.
That Doc created this alternate world that human beings never existed, so therefore they can never exist in that sort of timeline.
Of course, there's the paradox that if they never existed, then they never went back in time to destroy the meteor, so they did exist, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, paradox. There's another paradox later on that we'll talk about. That's kind of the problem with time travel. You're never going to get it to where it works out 100% perfectly. There's always going to be one little string that you always leave undone, but that's with time travel, anything. So basically, Jules brings up if they return back to the Cretaceous period and undo what they did by bringing the meteor back, things will go back to normal. And they're prepared to head back to the past, so they're grabbed by a dinosaur police officer. An Allosaurus officer pulls up on a motorbike as they talk to each other in their own language, which, again, another nice touch. It sounds like reversed English. I couldn't tell because I couldn't backmask the thing. But it still is a pretty neat touch that they actually did that, you know, to give these dinosaurs their own language. Jules tries using the universal translator to understand what they're saying, but it turns out it sounds like Godzilla screeches, so it turns out it's Japanese. Ha.
That was for the nerds in the audience.
Yeah, back in 1990, that probably would be a nerd reference.
Yep.
But after changing it back to English, the blue dinosaur talks to the Allosaurus, who says that the DeLorean is a strange egg. It turns out that the Allosaurus is the dinosaur world's equivalent of Biff Tannen. And like all versions of Biff Tannen, he's voiced by Tom Wilson. And that alone is so great that they actually found a way to manage to get Biff in this alternate dinosaur world.
Hello, McFlyosaurus.
Sure. If only.
Okay.
But yeah. The Biff dinosaur fights with the blue one over what to do with it. He plans on selling it to a research lab, whereas the blue one wants to sell it to a zoo. Doc then tells his sons to put their feet on the seat as Doc uses the electricity from the battery to shock the metal chassis of the car, which shocks Biff. I'm calling him Biff, even though because we don't know his name, and he's basically just Biff Tannen as a dinosaur. Let's be real.
Yeah, Biffosaurus.
Yeah. He chases after them, but he trips and falls. And it's here we get a moment that actually kind of weirded me out. Biff tries using his tongue to attempt to pull the car away back to him before they fly away, leaving his elongated tongue trying to fit in his mouth in a weird gag. I guess in this alternate,
and it looked and felt like freaking putty. Like
it was so weird.
what?
Yeah,
I
guess
he was a Yoshi all along.
I guess in this alternate dinosaur universe, all dinosaurs have Yoshi powers. I guess that means if they eat like red shells, they can breathe fire. If they eat blue shells, they can fly. And if they eat multicolored shells, they can do all three.
Yeah.
The one thing I didn't like about this joke is that this implies that they're like Yoshis. We were deprived a Birdo dinosaur.
Oh, what a missed opportunity right there. Complete missed opportunity. What a shame. So Vern's hat fades out of existence as they have to return to the Cretaceous period to bring back the meteor. There's a really good part that I find interesting that the DeLorean returns to the past literally just as the other set of Jules and Doc land on the DeLorean and go back to the future. It really is a neat touch that, again, time travel, it does happen, you know. Again, in the Back to the Future series, you would meet yourself when you travel back in time in a certain way. I believe the comic actually touched on that because there's a thing where Marty wonders what happened to the Marty in the alternate timeline that went back to the past. Because, it's like one of those things with time travel. You're never going to have it be like a perfect circle.
Yeah.
Yep. But getting back to this episode, the three continue to vanish as Doc gets his device back and working before bringing back the meteor. And as soon as it does, Marty reappears, everything else reappears, including Vern's hat. And again, just another little bit of a paradox here. This isn't Paradox Podcast, this is a Dragoness Podcast, but still. If they change the past so that the set of Doc, Jules, and Vern don't go to the dinosaur future, does that mean that set of Doc, Jules, and Vern does not exist anymore? Again, it's one of those things with time travel that I always feel like even the best time travel story.
Dinosaur future, and then went back to the past to fix it, where they saw another set that was going to the dinosaur.
It's gone. Yeah, exactly.
Time travel.
Yeah. It's really
time travel is a confusing son of a bitch.
Even in the time machine that happened, believe it or not. Even in the original H.G. Wells time machine that happens, but we'll get to that maybe.
Oh god, I love the Big Bang Theory's take on that, where Leonard has a freaking no, it was Sheldon who had a dream.
from the 1950s from the 1960 movie with the Morlocks, yeah. But getting back to
the flesh-eating Morlocks.
Yep, that's what happens when you go into the year. Yep. But getting back to this one. The three go back to the future once again as Jules remarks that they were the ones that caused the dinosaurs' extinction. Vern doesn't want to leave Donnie as he's basically forced back into the DeLorean. He waves goodbye to the pterodon just as the meteor hits Earth, and they finally arrive back in the regular 1991 again as Vern joyfully...
Actually, quick tangent. Funny thing about Don, one of his cries kind of sounds like one of the freaking Gormon bandits from Majora's Mask, or like, or something like that.
One of it was the same sound effect. Could have been.
Probably. Who knows?
Yep. But anyway, they arrive back in normal 1991 again as Vern joyfully greets Marty, who basically is confused because to him, they only left 2 seconds ago. Vern mentions that time travel. Vern mentions that he misses Donnie, but that it was for the best because Doc mentions that Donnie wouldn't have existed in their world any more than they could have existed in the dinosaur world. A small bird then lands on Vern's shoulder as he mentions that it could be Donnie's great-great-great-great-grandson as the cartoon ends.
Indeed.
Yep. We then cut back to the live-action portion of the show as Christopher Lloyd shows up once again. Doc Brown is carrying a bunch of dinosaur bones as he mentions that he would bring his running shoes next time he returns to the Cretaceous period. So makes me wonder, what's he going to do with those bones? What do you got planned, Doc?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Probably.
Sorry, what was that?
I said questions best left unanswered.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't ask questions you aren't ready to hear the answering to.
Thank you, Mrs. Puff.
Oh man, Honestly, though, it would kind of be interesting to see what he's trying to do, like trying to make his own dinosaur, like trying to revive dinosaurs. That would honestly be funny.
Hey, I mean, Spielberg would do that a couple years later with Jurassic Park. Maybe Doc Brown would have beat him to the punch. But Doc then brings up his lemon battery, and he mentions that despite it being in a cartoon, it really does work, telling his computer to load up the demonstration of the lemon battery.
And it's Bill Nye, the science guy.
None other than Bill Nye. Bill Nye. I believe this might have been one of his first things in television, believe it or not. This is way before he had his own show. How they managed to get him to be the scientific demonstrator of this show, I don't know, but it's really cool nonetheless. He basically shows the audience how to make a real lemon battery while Doc narrates on how to do it. And it's really a cute concept that they actually go as far as to show kids how the science can actually work, you know? It's actually, even though it's a cartoon, even though, part of it's fiction, it really can happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like some episodes at the end of Inspector Gadget where like they do like sort of safety sort of things.
Yeah, kind of in a way. It's really interesting. And what happens basically is Bill Nye uses the exact same method they describe in the cartoon. They get aluminum, copper, and some wire, and they manage to hook up 3 lemons to a digital clock, and it actually turns on. I wonder how many kids. Yeah, I wonder how many kids ruin their house trying to do that.
Oh man, it's funny because that kind of reminds. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the shock fruit from freaking Tears of the Kingdom.
I can see that.
Makes sense, honestly.
Yep.
I was not expecting this to be as heavy into the edutainment aspect as it was, and seeing it makes me realize we do not have shows like this anymore, and it's kind of sad.
I mean, we kind of do and kind of don't. It's complicated, but yeah.
Not so much the stuff of try it at home kids nowadays. They don't.
Yeah, I feel like part of the problem is part of the problem I feel is that everything is so streamlined nowadays. It's like, oh, kids don't want to learn about that because like with YouTube and stuff like that, I mean, look what's popular on YouTube. Like science demonstrations gets like maybe 40 million views, and a guy like Mr. Beast gets like 400 million views,
Oh boy.
Kind of a shame. But yeah, like Matt was saying though, it really is a shame that we don't have stuff like this that teaches kids to be curious about the world around them and just to basically try things out like that,
Yeah.
Yep. Doc then reveals he uses his own lemon battery to make a strange version of lemonade as the episode ends. And one interesting thing to note, there is something at the end of the credits of every episode, which at this time period of the 90s, that was almost never done. When the episode ends, every episode ends with Biff Tannen showing up and telling a joke that was somewhat based on the episode in a way, before something from the episode scares him off. It's animated Biff Tannen, so sadly we do not actually get to see Tom Wilson, but regardless. Like I say, even like that's a really cute detail. And again, this show, it's a good time in my opinion. Haha, accidental pun there. Yeah,
that makes
but
sense.
it really is because it follows up on the actual movie trilogy really well. Like this feels like a continuation of the Back to the Future trilogy. Like if we never got a Back to the Future 4, which you never did, this feels like the perfect follow-up. This and the Back to the Future amusement park ride that came out around the same time, and the comics and that, but that came later. But this feels so into the franchise. This doesn't feel like, it's just popular, let's make a movie about it, and the kids will eat it up. Because I think what happened is Bob Gale was a producer on, and of course he was executive produced the other Back to the Future movies. And I think you could tell he had a lot of passion for it, especially because this was his franchise.
Yeah.
And
I'm from the era where you would see animated spin-offs of literally anything. You had an animated Rambo spin-off. You had an animated RoboCop spin-off. Those make no fucking sense to turn into cartoons. This one actually feels like a genuine continuation rather than, oh, hey, let's just market this stuff to sell toys.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but again, this doesn't feel like that. This feels more organic. It feels like the people who made it actually cared a little bit.
Yep.
And the thing that's kind of sad too, this show must have been popular enough to get 2 seasons, even though the second one is a bit truncated compared to the first. But now it seems kind of forgotten. The show did apparently get a full DVD release, which, probably speaks to the popularity of the franchise that actually managed to do that. And as a whole, I really enjoyed this show, and I wouldn't mind checking out more episodes, to be honest, because if you've seen the trilogy like 5,000 times, if you've seen like the video of the amusement park ride, if you played the Telltale game, if you've read the comics, this I really think is a good way to scratch that itch of more Back to the Future content, because thank God they can never make a new Back to the Future content as long as Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale are alive.
I think they did actually, technically.
No, they are not going to. I don't think they legally can do anything new Back to the Future without their approval, and they refuse it, which again is very, very noble of them to do that, because let's this way,
like,
look at Star Wars.
With Ed and Eddie, for example.
Yeah, exactly like that too. It's like they have their franchise, they own complete rights on it, and they do what they want with it, which is they did 3 perfect movies and a lot of spin-off material that, but they don't feel the need to like sully it with like Back to the Future 4, Back to the Future 5, Back to the Future 6. It'd be like it would get really like what happened with Star Wars and stuff like that, where the magic of the original would just be gone. And I'm really glad that they do that, But like I say, this show in particular is highly recommended, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was certainly a treat to behold. It wasn't. The quality that we got in the recording, it leaves something to be desired, but everything else was pretty great.
Oh, it's fantastic. It really, really is a show that works the best. So now it is time for the question of the week, which is going to be, what is your favorite, or what is / was your favorite edutainment show and why? Now, the words educational television has a very bad context, as SpongeBob SquarePants would let you know. Educational television? Oh, no!
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but there are some good examples, and you could go with a classic like, Sesame Street, which, of course, Jim Henson was behind it, so, of course, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I could go with, some of the PC games and stuff like that. They're really good.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with a bit more of an obscure one that always fascinated me as a little kid. It's going to be Donald Duck in Mathmagical Land.
I love that one.
Short. Yep. This is a short that Disney did, I believe, in the late 50s, early 60s. And they did several of these shorts. They did Jiminy Cricket's I'm Not a Fool. They did basically a lot of educational shorts that at the same time entertained. And I actually had this on tape. And I would actually watch this short willingly, because it was just so fascinating to me as a kid. Because for the kids, they have the stuff like the Donald Duck antics and that to get them engrossed in the animation and in the topic, rather. And of course, you have Paul Frees doing the narrating, and that man is a legend. He could read the phone book, and he would make it sound like the most
like Morgan Freeman.
Nope. Paul Frees this time. But
I know. I was saying like Morgan Freeman.
All good. All good. But But Paul Frees does such a great job as the narrator, and it really introduces kids to concepts that really would happen years and years ahead of their time. With stuff like with the geometry and the sacred spiral and the pentagram not being shown as being evil, but being shown as like a mathematical construct. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It really does look fantastic, It's something that it holds up insanely well. It's something made in like the 1950s, 70 years old. This still is so fascinating. The ending of it with the endless amount of doors and that and the galaxy spiral, I think that was the first time I was actually fascinated by something. Like, I actually looked at something and I was like awestruck by it. And again, I feel like a lot of the other classic Disney era shorts at the time, the educational ones rather, also worked out. You had the Atomic Genie one. You had the stuff Disney did for the his television show with the space Man in Space, Life on Mars. Those ones are also good. They do have some German doctors on there of dubious history. Let's just put it that way. But yeah. It is very good, though. I'm definitely going to pick Donald Duck in Mathmagical Land for my favorite edutainment, because Yeah, that really is fascinating stuff. So, Angron, what would you say is your favorite edutainment work?
Well, now that we've gotten all that out of the way, more or less, oh boy, that is going to be a tough one. Because I could wax poetics about Bluey and its whole social skills deal told through very creative and very in-depth episodes sometimes that are relatable on a very high scale. I could talk about Jumpstart Third Grade, which basically, which granted probably isn't as long doesn't take as long to beat as someone like say Yzmat from Final Fantasy. Yeah, I could also technically say, let me think here, what's another good one? I could also probably say Dinosaur Train for sticking to more accurate findings and being the most up-to-date dinosaur show, period, for the most part.
We'll talk about that soon on the podcast, so stay tuned for that.
But I think for something that doesn't, for something that absolutely sticks with me even to this day, I'm absolutely gonna have to say fricking Dragon Tales. Like, on top of the social skill stuff, it also does a bunch of different educational things. Honestly, it could probably be the most definitive edutainment bit of media, period. Like, there's Spanish, there's numbers, there's a bunch of different stuff told in fairly clever ways, all things considered. And the cast... also, the lore of this place is pretty much a sort of a hidden gem among edutainment shows. Like, and especially among the main cast, we got Cassie, whose family is about as fertile as you could possibly imagine. You got Zack and Wheezy, who are basically conjoined twins, and pretty much the only conjoined twins by the looks of it. You got Ord, who is pretty much the boy who I probably should have mentioned in freaking yesterday's
Dragons.
favorite dragons.
Last week's, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely gonna say Dragon Tales.
That's a great choice right there. I definitely,
right?
I can definitely see why, because like I said, it's just the art style is so beautiful on that show.
Yeah,
too,
Ray Roddenberry really earned his keep on that one.
You know it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that when we eventually get to the show on the podcast, because it's a show about dragons, and we'll definitely get to it in the future. But for now, that's a really great choice right there. Yep, that's a great choice. Math, what would you have to say is your favorite bit of edutainment media?
For as much as I'm the animation guy, I'm actually moving over into the world of video games.
Oh.
Basically, the entire humongous entertainment catalog. You have your Pajama Sams, you have your Putt Putts, you have your Freddy Fishes. My personal favorite, though, was always Spy Fox.
Ooh, nice.
It's just something about a Get Smart with anthro characters made for kids. Just something about that doesn't sound like it would work, but it works so well.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. Pajama Sam definitely had my interest a lot. Also, Putt Putt Goes to the Zoo is probably one of my favorite Game Grumps playthroughs to watch.
Yeah,
all the humongous games are just so good, and they are really great at teaching you stuff without being in your face of, hey, I'm teaching you this thing, learn, damn you, learn.
Yeah, I don't remember the What About Our Gamer videos.
Oh gosh, it's like that one teacher from Dragon Ball Z who's trying to teach Gohan, and he's got a whip out. It's just like, oh good lordy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That is but no, that's a great choice right there, because again, those were games that they taught you things, but you never felt like you were being preached to, exactly like you said. And
same with freaking Dragon Tales and a bunch of other cartoons, honestly. Like even some nowadays for the most part.
Yeah. But no, like I say, that is definitely a really good idea, a really good choice rather, because again, not just Spy Fox, really all their games, even like Putt Putt and Freddy Fish, they just had such fun style to it, and they were really funny too. Especially they were way more well written than they had any right to be.
Yeah, that's very
Great art
surprising.
style, great writing, great humor. Like, there's nothing bad about those games.
Not at all.
Yeah, there's also Clue Finders, surprisingly, which those games not only did a similar thing, but good lordy, the stories in those things might as well give might as well give something like, I don't know, Redwall or even Carmen Sandiego a run for their money.
Oh, that is definitely a good choice. But you had like even like Freddy Fish. You still had like the hilarious stuff. Like I remember the Worm Doodles commercial. That is still so hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, it really, really. Those are games that definitely hold up today, and it's a shame that they don't really make them anymore. You know, that they've been defunct for so long.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely.
Sucks.
Yeah, it should definitely it's something that should have worked a lot better. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great choice right there. Shark, what would you have to pick for your favorite edutainment media and why?
Well, there was a cartoon I remember watching a lot when I was way younger. And I'm not sure it's really obscure because I don't see many people talking about it nowadays. And the name was Small Planets.
I think I remember that show. Is that CGI?
Yeah, it was like CGI, and it basically were like two Yetis that will travel to different planets in a coach of all things. And it was a really cool concept because there were several planets, and each one was like the nature planet where they teach you about how four season works or how does the wind
Oh
works.
yeah,
Or
Tiny Planets. I have never
I
heard of this
think
show.
I remember
What the
that.
heck?
I think I remember that from the description.
Yeah,
It's
and there was like the
2001.
math
Interesting.
planet where they teach you math. There was the like health planet, like it was all the mental health or physical health. And the
Interesting.
technology planet where they teach you about how to use certain tools, how houses are built. The musical planet that teach you about there was a lot of variety, and the characters designs were cute and they were very likable. And the whole concept was really cool. With each different planet, they will visit it several times, and each time they will teach you something different about the subject each planet represents. And like I said, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it recently, so I'm not sure if it was popular or if it just fell into obscurity with the time.
Yeah.
Obscurity because it was made by the Sesame Workshop, so it would be good.
Really? Wow. I mean, you got those guys working on it. Those guys are legends. So I really wonder why it faded into obscurity. Because
tiny planets, not small planets, tiny planets.
All good, all good. But like you said, though, it is a really good show, and I vaguely remember it, and it's a shame. It really, really is because it definitely deserved way more better. You know. Yeah, definitely a good choice there. So, Jordan, what would you have to say is your favorite edutainment and why? Maggie, what? Sorry, Angron, what's that?
I didn't say anything.
You I heard audio coming from your thing. It's all right.
Strange.
It's all good.
Mine would probably have to be. I mean, I grew up with some mathematics shows like, well, not a lot of cartoons mathematics because I didn't think they were fun, and I didn't like mathematics when I was a kid. But I did like
stuff in general, though. It's okay. Continue. Sorry.
I think the ones I like were the kind of live action, like Bell Nye the Science Guy, The Wiggles, I guess.
Yeah, there's also Magic School Bus too.
That too, and there was also, I guess, Dora the Explorer, or anything that would have some of the stuff like that. I kind of watched, not really, because again, I couldn't understand math or anything like that because it didn't entertain me that much. I'm like, this is boring. Let's go watch something else or go outside. But I would probably say the Magic School Bus would taught me some stuff like that, I guess.
It reminds me of a math show called Cyber Chase, funnily enough.
That one was a good one too.
Yeah. Nice.
It was hard. I didn't care for all of that. Like scientific or anything like that. It just bored me to death. Unless it's history, that's a whole different topic. But again, none of the other stuff like Back to the Future. I've never heard about the cartoon. I've seen the series, but never the cartoon. Because I'm like deer in headlights. I didn't understand what the hell Doc was saying. And unless a certain subject of what it is would get me into it, I would like it. But anything else would just be like over the head.
All right.
It's all good. It's all good. So, now it is time for the. Just one thing. Lucky Evie could not be here, but he managed to say what he picked, and he agrees with Math, and that the entirety of Humongous Entertainment is also his pick, which is another really good one.
Very much so.
Yep, an excellent choice right there. So now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where you rank the Dragonesses, or in this case, female dinosaurs, on a scale of 1 to 10. Now this one's really kind of weird because they're not the focus. None of them get any focus. They're really background characters. I don't even think any of them have any lines. So this is going to be very interesting to judge. But if we did the females of Dino Hat in the Super Mario movie, we could definitely do this too. So for my choice, see, they're background extras. They have no character. They have no personality. They don't have names. They don't have lines. But they're designs. Just going on aesthetic. This is really because all we can judge at this point is aesthetic. I think I gotta give them like a 5, maybe even. I think 6 would be a little too high because again, they don't have characters. They don't have anything. But in terms of just the aesthetics and just the whole amount of world building they do with this alternate dinosaur world, I'm going to give them a 5 out of 10 because, again, just the whole world building of Dinosaur World as a whole, and of course the Dinosaur Nightclub singer definitely boosted up several points. Let's be real. That is a fun design right there. But yeah, I'm definitely going to give it that because I feel that if they just had one that even talked, that would at least give him a 6 out of 10, but I can't give him a lower score either because I did enjoy them. I did enjoy what they did with them. I enjoy what they did with the concept. And again, it would be great to have more of them, but what we did get, the little bit we did get was fun, and it really leaves you wanting more. So that's going to be my choice is 5 out of 10. Angron, what would you give them?
I would go a little bit higher, and I would kind of say 6 out. I would kind of say 6 out of 10. I agree with everything you're saying, but I liked the designs a little bit more than that because, like, they're unique. They feel well animated, especially with the show itself. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with a 6 out of 10. It's not perfect, but hey, what is?
Great choice right there. I definitely can understand why you're giving him that because, like I say, I really wanted to give him a 6 out of 10, and I debated it a lot, but I just can't go there because, again, they don't have character. But I definitely understand why you give him that because, again, they look really good. I mean, the animation team and the design team, they knew what they were doing with this. So, Math, what would you have to give them?
So for the longest time, I was debating on this as well for between a 5 and a 6 because I really do like the design. The design absolutely screams that this is from Emblem. You can see the Dom Bluth inspiration, which would ultimately become. I've said that this is proto-Emblemation, and if you were to say, "Oh, hey, this is by the same people that made We're Back, a Dinosaur Story," you would absolutely see it. It has that personality and creativity from just the designs. And that would have been where I landed at a 5, but what tipped it over into a 6, because there's no personality here, unfortunately, so I can't really do anything for that. But what tipped it over into a 6 was the lounge lizard joke. If there is one person who laughs at that joke, it is me. If there are 0 people laughing at that joke, I am dead.
Yeah.
I am the mark for that lounge lizard joke, and that bumped it up right there because I just love that quirky humor.
That's definitely a good choice right there. And again, I understand where you're coming with that joke because that definitely got a good smirk out of me too. And I'm debating on changing my score. I'm actually like to say what you guys are saying is actually kind of convincing me because I did really like their appearance. I liked how they sounded. Not how they sounded, but I did like the aesthetics. So yeah, I actually might bump it up to 6, believe it or not. So 3, 6 out of 10. So can we keep the train going? Let's find out. Shark, what would you give them?
Yeah, conflicted because as all of you point out, there's no personality, absolute no personality because they are background characters.
Yep.
But they could have easily made them look like generic dinosaurs. Like, no, it would be so easy. No one would have noticed it. But no, they went the extra mile to make them unique, to put them in an interesting setting, to give them clothes, for example, and like the singer dragon dinosaur. So yeah, they could have done more, but they could also done nothing with them. So I'm gonna applaud the effort for that, and yeah, I think I'm gonna join. I'm gonna give them a 6 out of 10 too.
Nice, nice. Jordan, what would you have to give them?
I didn't, like I said, I didn't watch a lot of the Back to the Future series, but I did watch a little bit of the episode when we were all talking about it. And I see what the dinosaurs look like, and I'm like, okay, there's no talking, but it looks funny and cute and comedy of seeing this whole episode. And I kind of agree with everyone. There's no talking, which is understandable, but you kind of see there's a little tiny intelligence. Like they're trying to figure, like, oh, what's this? The time machine. I'm like, okay, there's that's kind of funny. They either like don't know what it is, and it shocks one of them, which is funny. I'll give it 6 out of 10. That everyone's going on that train. It looks
Right.
cute to me.
Yep. Well, unfortunately, our 6 out of 10 train has come to a halt because Lucky Evie has decided to give them a 5 out of 10 because he thinks that the designs look a little generic, which I can kind of see, but at the same time, some of them look generic, but other ones I feel are designed to the point where they definitely had fun making them. And again, it feels like they were from like a project that they also wanted to do. They decided to throw them in this one. It really does seem more unique than that, but time to his opinion. So 5 out of 10 it is. So that's going to be it for this week's episode. If you have any questions, or if you want to send us pictures of your own lemon batteries connected to stuff, you can email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse, and subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Ludmillanon, and subscribe to the playlist there to hear the rest of the episodes. Next week, we'll be discussing the 2005 Crypto the Superdog episode, Dinosaur Time. That's going to be a lot of fun to talk about another show based on a very popular media piece and see what happens, basically. Going to be, it has the Ocean Group behind it, so that's always a big plus. And hopefully we'll get to see some fun with the Dog Stars and Crypto on this one.
Yep.
But that'll be it for this week. So until then, thank you guys so much for listening, and take care.
Let's
Later.
future.
Peace out.
Adios. And that's that.